Well, India's G20 presidency hits a crescendo today, and the two-day summit begins today at the Bharat Mandapam. Leaders from across the world are in Delhi for the summit. At around 9:20 a.m., all leaders will arrive at the Bharat Mandapam, and the first session will begin at 10:30 a.m. and the second session at 3 p.m. At around 5 p.m., all countries of the G20 will sign an agreement on the biofuel. And this is a big push by India and PM Modi's dream to help fight the climate change crisis. Day one will end with a dinner hosted by President Draupadi Murmu, and the gala dinner will take place at the multifunctional hall of the Bharat Mandapam. Yesterday, Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks with the US President Joe Biden, Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Kumar Jugnauth. Prime Minister Modi will hold bilateral meetings with his UK counterpart Rishi Sunak and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni today. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has hailed India's G20 presidency and reaffirmed his commitment to tackling global terrorism. Now we have with us joining on this broadcast Pallavi Ghosh. Pallavi, today is a big day. Firstly, what all is going on in terms of preparations? We know the preparations have been on for quite a long time, and as we are finally heading into the event, what is the situation like?
Well, yes, today is actually the big day, and the preparations which have been going on for the last 1 year will see its culmination today and a part of it tomorrow, and all eyes really on the Delhi declaration, whether it's going to actually involve all those factors which Indian side certainly has been thrashing out. As you pointed out, couple of bilaterals today, but apart from that, by around 9:15 onwards, right over here, the Mandapam, you're going to see all the delegates which are going to start coming in, and they're going to be day-long deliberations, which is going to end with a kind of dinner, which of course the president is going to be holding for all the delegates, for which the former prime ministers and chief ministers too have been invited. But just to talk specifically about what are the key issues which India would want the focus on, clearly the focus in the G20 summit is going to be on the trade and economic ties, because we are talking up in a backdrop of the post-COVID times, where there is always a concern that the economic growth in many countries are being sluggish. There are some who are also being hit by recession, and therefore it's all hands on deck. All hands need to be together to ensure that it's a fairer, freer world. And that's the reason why the tagline of the G20 summit over here, the Mandapam, is Vasudev Kutumbakam and Vishwamitra. Both of them in sync with each other. No world can afford, no country in fact can afford to be exclusive of each other. They all have to work together in a coordinated manner, which of course involves certain amount of compromise and sacrifices as well. And the idea of Vishwamitra, which is what India wants to show to the world, that when India has helped out in tough times, I think this is something which everyone must imbibe, and the start can be made by the G20 summit. Very quickly, some of the important trade economic points which are going to be discussed focus very much on climate. So the one which we broke late last night, there's likely to be a biofuel global alliance. This is something which is very close to the Prime Minister. Certain amount of resistance comes in from China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, who depend on fossil fuel. So the Prime Minister feels that there has to be a better climate and eco-friendly policy. That's one. Cryptocurrency, again, something which we spoke about, is going to be on the agenda. The world also needs to work in a coordinated manner. Economic offenders, that's also on which there needs to be greater cooperation. And of course, the trade ties, which means protectionism on one hand, but at the same time, you should open your doors to foreign investment.
Right, Pallavi. Pallavi, thank you for bringing us all those details. Do remain with us. But right now, we also have Arunima and Siddhant joining us in this conversation. Arunima, I will come to you first. What is the situation like in Delhi, firstly? How the security measures all being implemented? Are they the same as yesterday, or are there any special measures that have been taken to make that steps more stringent?
The carcades of the dignitaries was mostly from the airport to the hotel venues, but today the carcades will move towards Bharat Mandapam, and therefore security has been tightened further. Behind me, this is the road that leads to Oberoi Hotel and Hotel Lodhi. This is the area where delegates from Oman, delegates from Russia, delegates from France. This is the area in which they are all staying in, and therefore fresh barricades have been put up. So what is really the itinerary that we are looking at? In the next 1.5 hours or so, we will start looking at movement of all the dignitaries from their respective hotels towards Bharat Mandapam. There are bilaterals scheduled on the side as well. Of course, the most important bilateral happened yesterday. US President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Narendra Modi met and spoke. But today, as we speak, what we are told is that there will be movement towards Bharat Mandapam, and that entire area. For example, if you're looking at the Sardar Patel Marg, which takes you from the Taj Hotel to Bharat Mandapam, that entire road has been sealed off. It's closed. Nobody is being allowed to move in there. Once you reach the Rajghat area also, Rajghat, the Samadhi of Mahatma Gandhi, is a place that a lot of people, dignitaries want to go and pay their respect to. On my right is the Humayun's tomb. Again, one of the locations which a lot of interest has been shown by delegates, heads of states. They want to come here, and you see police bandobast already there at Humayun's tomb. This area has been beautified. Fresh coat of paints, flower pots have been set up. Taj Mahal, another interesting spot. Even though security agencies say officially they have not received any request yet, Taj Mahal has always been on top of the list of those who come to India and want to see what India has to offer. So Agra has been beautified as well. Taj Mahal is waiting to see who are the dignitaries who will ultimately reach for the Monument of Love. While the top heads of state get together to solve issues of biofuel, solve issues of that joint communique, whether Ukraine-Russia conflict, there can be some mechanism to come up with a joint communique in spite of that irritant. The spouses of the dignitaries will be busy coming and seeing Delhi, and some of them have requested that they be allowed to go shop as well. So Delhi police, paramilitaries are taking into account those movements on the streets of Delhi as well.
Right, Arunima, thank you for bringing us all those details. Do remain with us. For now, we also have Anand Narasimhan joining us on the broadcast. Anand, a very good morning to you. Well, Pallavi and I were just speaking about the kind of deals that have already been spoken about yesterday, and one such deal that has come into the focus is the possibility of an agreement on a biofuel push, the push that the dream for Prime Minister Modi of biofuel coming, which might finally take place in this particular summit, and an agreement on that. How are we looking at this particular facet of it?
Well, India was the one. Good early morning to all our viewers. And India was the one that mooted the Solar Alliance. And look what that has done. It's yielded so much of benefits in terms of looking at renewable energy and tapping renewable energy. India now, as it passes on the baton to Brazil, wants to moot the Biofuels Alliance, and that's something which, like you said, is very close to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister has mooted this idea. So it could be India, US and Brazil jointly announcing the start of this International Biofuels Alliance, and there are many other nations which have already expressed their interest to be a part of this Biofuels Alliance. The Solar Alliance grew, and there is huge amount of participation. Eventually there will be energy sharing, tap the energy of the sun and help nations and share this ability to tap this energy and try and do it where you can tap it the most. So that's where the Solar Alliance started. Now they're looking at the Biofuels Alliance, and this is something could be one of the big takeaways from the G20 this year. Now let us try and also look at the possibilities of the other engagements. A lot of people are trying to put the focus on the joint statement, but in Bali also there wasn't a joint statement, but there were a lot of takeaways.